Hello everyone, I'm recording in an alternate location today for reasons that I hope will become abundantly clear as I work my way through your readings. Only 2 readings this week, but to be completely honest with you, probably 2 of my most favorite readings for the entire semester. We're going to talk about virtual communities, online protesting, and third places. And these things will really delve themselves out as you look through the reading. I think they'll come alive completely with what we're doing in this week's discussion. For your readings this week, I'd like you to start with the Steinkuhler and Williams piece. That's article number 4 under the content page. Constance Steinkuhler is a professor at UW-Madison right here in the state. Fantastic gal, and I think this article does a really nice job of explaining a lot of things in online gaming in third places that we don't normally think about. Now, I would like you to look at the entire article. There's a lot of cool things there, and some of this stuff you might actually end up using for your final application paper. But in particular, I want you to really focus on page 5 of the document. It's 889 within the article itself, under the heading Theoretical Framework for Understanding the Form and Function of MMOs. And that's massive multi-online spaces, right? And right underneath there, the first heading in italics is MMOs as third places. And almost immediately there in the paragraph, you read this. In his seminal text, Oldberg documents this decline in brick and mortar third places in America where individuals can gather to socialize informally beyond the workplace and home. Now, here's where you got to draw up some ideas and kind of figure out what they mean by third place. So first place is going to be the home. Second place is going to be the workplace. These are the places you spend the most time. But then third places exist elsewhere. It's churches, town halls, bars, restaurants, different businesses. And in fact, I'm here in a similar third place. I'm in a friend's basement. He owns a business. He's let me use this particular space because this is where people would gather back before the days of the internet to talk about what's happening. Now, not necessarily in the basement. We'll get to that here in just a minute. So a third space is a place for people to come together. And this particular article talks about online gaming worlds and massively multiplayer online environments as third places. So games like Second Life that you may be familiar with, World of Warcraft, and EverQuest, PlayStation Network games, Xbox stuff, not so much Nintendo because they need to work on getting that up and going, but there are all sorts of wonderful places that have arisen as third places that we now gather. Now, even though you might be in your first or second place, home or workplace, when you're gathering in these places, we still sort of put our conscious identity and thoughts into these third places. Now, this leads incredibly well into the second reading, which is chapter 4 of the Schmidt and Cohen book this week, and I absolutely love this chapter. It's titled The Future of Revolution, and they're talking about what will happen in the future of protesting. How will online protests begin to affect actual protesting in the way we view things and how it will protect and honestly persecute people in the way that works? Right off the bottom of the first page you read, with so many people connected in so many places, the future will contain the most active, outspoken, and globalized civil society the world has ever known. And we're starting to get that way. We're seeing this after the presidential debates. We're seeing this after every massive and amazing human calamity that happens. We're seeing this when people are celebrating. Like tonight, many of you are probably watching the Oscars, and there's a number of people that are live tweeting. There are people gathered in chat rooms, and we're discussing these things. And just a few months ago, when the Oscars were announced, people gathered in these same community places to protest the lack of African American and individuals of color having not been nominated in the Oscars. These third places are giving rise to great places for people to connect and protest where you can reach a vastly huge audience over great distances rather than hoping everybody comes together in a place like this that I'm sitting here in today. Now, in the past, this would have been one of the preferred places. It's the basement of somebody's business. It's quiet. People can't see me down here. Like, nobody really knows that I'm here. I'm surrounded by interesting things, t-shirts, glasses, things perhaps I'm not even supposed to see. But people would gather here and they would plan out how to protest, how to revolt, And really, if we need a simple example, if you think back to the Revolutionary War here for America's independence, these same guys, well, not these same guys, but these guys would get together in town halls, in churches, in basements, in dark, quiet, secluded places, and they would whisper about freedom, about independence, and plan how to make these things an action. And now we're seeing this happen online, which is incredibly cool, but still dangerous for some individuals, as you'll see in the Schmidt and Cohen chapter as you read through it. As you turn the page to 122, the first heading there says easier to start. Second paragraph, the first line there. Every society in the future, including those that adopted internet technology early on, will experience different forms of protest in which communication technologies are used to organize, mobilize, and engage the internet community. People are doing this with flash mobs. People are doing this with actual guerrilla attacks. People are doing this simply to get words out. I've posted a video, should be just below this one, where you can see somebody talking about how they're protesting. And as you watch that, wonder what might happen to this individual if they were to do this out in public, where the military, the police, the government could get a hold of them, where terrorists, where other people not interested in hearing the words freedom and independence might react. So, two great readings, and I hope they'll lead us into some fantastic discussion that will take us into the idea of how online computer-mediated communication is going to be that future, is something that we can utilize. And to draw on a little bit more of the idea of communication itself, I want to read you a passage from a really great article by a guy named Rod Hart. Now, you don't have to read this article. I'll post it to the content page if you want to take a look at it. Those of you that are studying communication, might go on to grad school, this would be a great thing to read. For the rest of you, just listen to this one particular paragraph where he talks about the importance of communication. So the teaching of communication will always be with us in some honored or fugitive place, just as it has been with us for 20 centuries or more. It will be with us for the most fundamental of reasons, because freedom goes to the articulate. After all, with effective communication, I decide who will pay me, or love me, or vote for me. With effective communication, I decide if my people will continue to suffer discrimination, or joblessness, or mental distress. With effective communication, I decide who will share my truths, who will honor my gods, who will appreciate my history, and who will purchase my deodorant. With effective communication, I become more than flotsam on the seas of your prejudices, more than jetsam on the tides of your ignorance. With effective communication, life's waters become not my grave. And he's absolutely right. Freedom goes to the articulate. And life's waters can be navigated with effective communication by gathering in the right places, by bringing your message to the right people, and doing so in a way that lets everyone know that you're there, you're willing to do what it takes to make things happen, and to bring these people together in a way that hopefully empowers them. We've got a couple of things I want you to do for this week's discussion. We have 4 facilitators this week, so be sure you're following up on their questions. But number one, I want to look at the final project of the semester just a little bit, okay? And you can find directions for the next paper, the annotated bibliography, and the final paper, the application paper, within the syllabus. It's just right there next to where the case study instructions are. And really start to take a look at the application paper, because I'm hoping that we can do something each week to bring those ideas forward and make that a little bit easier of a writing process so it doesn't take you as long to do. In particular, the annotated bibliography paper should be all about gathering sources that will help you to finish that paper. And what the final paper asks you to do, or one of the things the final paper asks you to do, is to pick one of our topics for the semester and really hang your hat on it. And you're going to create an application, so like an app that you would have in your iOS device, and we'll do something from one of our topics. And you can find that by looking at the course calendar, the very end of our syllabus, under the topic heading. You've already looked at these for the first few weeks when you're working on your case study paper. You need to look down through the rest of them. This week we're talking about virtual communities. Next week's problematic CMC, computer-mediated communication, privacy, political communication, media as a learning tool, and mass media effects. So look down through those. It's okay to look through the readings ahead of time to see, in particular, I think the Westerman book, the Westerman book Westerman Book does a great job of explaining what these things are, and you can get a leg up on your final paper by pouring a little bit of attention into it this week. Secondly, I want you to find a video of what Schmidt and Cohen would call a protest video, so find out what they really mean by that in the readings, by a person that might not have been able to safely protest if they didn't have access to communication technologies. Post that video into your discussion, and that'll be the meat of our discussion. I'll try and respond to your stuff about the application paper. I'm hoping that your facilitators will really be looking at the week's readings. So there we have it, folks. If you have anything you want to discuss about this week, or you want to run some ideas by me with your application paper, shoot me an email or ask for a Skype session, and we can meet up in a third place, which I hope you understand now, or at least we'll understand a little bit better later. And have fun this week with these discussions. This is great stuff, and as usual, I'm really looking forward to what you have to say on the matter. Thanks.